you would bump into someone spitting very loudly and especially making that sound. And regardless of the gender, I have seen women, especially older women, eyes spitting a lot. And yeah, it's very gross.
皆様、お帰りなさい。同じアジアを代表する大国でありながら、中国と日本における外国人の実体験は完全なる対極に位置しています。一方は、喧騒に包まれ、個人の境界線が絶えず侵害される環境。もう一方は、文明の極致にあり、安全と相互の尊重が徹底された社会。この文化的な隔たりは、果たしてどれほど残酷で真実味を帯びているのでしょうか。当事者たちの目線を通し、その実態を明らかにしていきましょう。まずは、現在中国に居住しているイギリス人男性の体験談からです。こちらの映像をご覧ください。
Hey there everyone, ni hao, this is Chokito and today I'm gonna share with you 5 things that foreigners dislike about Chinese people.
この外国人男性は中国の人々が通路を塞いで立ち止まる光景に強い憤りを感じています。建物の出入り口やコンビニの前、さらには歩道の真ん中に至るまで、彼らは周囲を気に留めることなく平然と集まり、談笑にふけっています。他者が通り抜けるのを邪魔しているという自覚は一切ありません。彼らの公共意識の欠如には驚きを禁じ得ません。
The first thing that really bothers foreigners a lot is people blocking the way. So actually this one is probably the most common thing that we dislike that happens more frequently. So these are things like standing in front of the entry, for a building, for a coffee shop, a convenience store, or even just like a little road or something that you have to go through. Very often you see people that are standing there, or you might see, let's say, 3-4 people walking on the sidewalk and blocking the whole way, or just standing there and having conversations, not letting anyone pass by, And what is surprising is that most of the Chinese people do not feel annoyed by this, they do not react in any way. They are way more patient than we are. They just go around. But for us, it is annoying, because we want them to think about us as well, about the people that have to go through. And this also happens on the roads. For example, when I'm riding my scooter and I have to turn right, in many traffic lights, there would be a bunch of people that are blocking the whole way and not letting the people that have to turn right, that do not have to wait for the traffic light, pass through. So it's a little bit annoying. Yeah, that's definitely something that we foreigners do not like, and something that happens often, almost on a daily basis,
ストレスをさらに増幅させるのは、ショッピングセンターの従業員までもが、公共のトイレ内で平然と喫煙している光景です。もともと衛生的とは言えない空間は、タバコの煙によってさらに悪化し、耐え難い異臭を放っています。それはまさに息の詰まるような劣悪な体験でした。
Okay, so the second thing that foreigners find annoying about Chinese people is smoking in the toilets. This also happens pretty frequently, especially in shopping malls toilets, like public toilets. You would see a couple of cigarettes thrown there, or someone smoking at that moment, We dislike this because, toilets don't smell well, but it doesn't smell better with the smell of a smoke of a cigarette, right? And sometimes when you just want to go to the toilet, sit there and do your thing and relax, you have somebody outside smoking, talking on the phone, kind of bothering you and not helping you focus on your thing, But also many of these people that smoke in the toilet are usually staff that work in that shopping mall or people that work nearby the toilet, So instead of going for a smoke outside, which take more time, and I'm not sure if they are always allowed to do so, they just opt for going for a smoke in the toilet. I have no idea why out of any place that you could choose in the whole city to smoke, you would choose to smoke on a toilet, right? I think it's the least hygienic, it's probably the stinkiest, so...
それだけではありません。一部の人々による人前での大きなゲップや路上への無造作な探知機にも彼は衝撃を受けています。これらの不快な音は会話中や散歩中であっても突如として放たれ、外国人をひどく当惑させます。彼のように高い衛生基準を持つ者にとって、それはまさに終わりのない悪夢と言えるでしょう。
Third thing that foreigners dislike a lot in China is burping. So burping in China is also not socially accepted. It's associated with poor behavior, poor manners, and maybe a lower education, but it still happens. And it happens regardless of the situation, of the person, the social class, social status, it still happens. Whereas, for us foreigners, burping is rude and gross as much as farting would be, So if you want to burp, you would burp when nobody's seeing or listening, or you would do it in a way that nobody would notice, I would say here people burp more at need, during conversations. Out of the blue, they just burp, and I feel like, whoa, what should I do, I feel embarrassed myself, I don't know how to react, what to do, what to say. Because there's nothing to say when somebody burps, right? Like you won't say bless you or anything. It's just walking around on the street, sometimes you're walking and somebody burps next to you. It's quite funny, but at the same time awkward, Or just during dinner, and it's pretty uncomfortable. Fourth thing that we really dislike in China, it would be spitting. And this one definitely doesn't happen too often, but maybe once a week you would bump into someone spitting very loudly and especially making that sound. And regardless of the gender, I have seen women, especially older women, eyes spitting a lot. And yeah, it's very gross. Sometimes you're just walking on the street and you see somebody already spat on that spot, And of course, spitting is not socially accepted. Chinese people also dislike it, but it still happens. I believe that spitting before was related to the levels of pollution, but at least in Shanghai, pollution has improved so much that I don't think it's a reason why people are still spitting. And it's more like a bad habit. And we believe that after COVID, probably people won't be spitting that much anymore, but COVID didn't cure spitting, at least not in China. And hopefully the situation can improve. Hopefully more and more people can understand that it is pretty gross and nobody likes hearing you spitting, nobody likes seeing you spitting, and spitting is not something that is pleasant to do,
中国での生活は公共交通機関での絶え間ない騒音によって彼の忍耐をさらに削り取ります。地下鉄内で大声で電話をしたり、ボイスメッセージの音声をスピーカーで流したりする行為。周囲の誰も気に留めていないその光景は彼にとって聴覚への拷問に他なりませんでした。あまりにも喧騒に満ちた環境です。
Finally, we're almost done. I don't like speaking about these negative things, to be honest. So yeah, the fifth thing that foreigners dislike about Chinese is people being loud. So this happens mostly in transportation, in the metro, especially on lines that travel pretty far to some of the countryside or smaller towns around Shanghai. You would still bump into people that speak very loudly on their phones or to each other, or people who are local Shanghainese and they speak on their dialect. Very often you can see them talking to each other outside on the streets, and since most of the people do not understand what they are saying, maybe that's the reason why they are louder. Just like these two behind me, pretty loud and screaming a lot. And also here in China, it's more common to send audio messages than texts. And there's many reasons to it. First, of course, it's more convenient, and I like sending audio messages more often as well than texts. But it's also because a lot of people, especially older generations, didn't learn pinyin, so they don't know how to type the characters on their phones. And handwriting them, it would take a much longer time. It's way more convenient here in China to send audio messages. And sometimes some people are sending pretty loud audio messages, or they are playing the audios their friends sent them out loud, and you're hearing everything that they are talking about, right? And nobody cares, really. Nobody cares. But I don't know, I guess nothing you can do to this one.
中国での息苦しい体験とは対照的に、オーストラリア出身のある男性は、日本という国に自らの人生の完璧な安住の地を見出しました。彼の日本に対する愛は凄まじく、ここで過ごした時間を6年巫女ぜ2週間4日と4時間と、秒単位の正確さで記憶しているほどです。その深い愛着には、敬意すら覚えます。
As of the recording of this video, I've lived in Japan for 6 years, 3 months, 2 weeks, 4 days, and 4 hours. What would possess someone to not only give up a comfortable life in the Australian suburbs for the absolute insanity that is the world's most populated city, Tokyo, Japan, but to stay for as long as I have? In this video, I'll answer that question with 5 things that I love about living here.
彼にとって日本を探索することは終わりのない喜びでした。 特に食費の安さと質の高さは驚異的です。安価な回転寿司、至高の一杯であるラーメン、そして夜間に割引されるお弁当。日本の食文化は彼の心を完全につかみました。まさに美食のパラダイスです。
Starting with number 1, eating out. Compared to where I grew up and most countries I visited, eating out in Japan is affordable and endlessly entertaining. It's been well documented that Japan has some of the best food in the world, playing host to sushi, ramen, rice bowls, fried meat, and so much more. If you want sushi, just head to a kaiten sushi or a sushi go round. You can help yourself to as many plates as you like for about $1.50 each. Walk down the street and hit up the local ramen joint. You can get a big bowl of noodles for around $8. A good friend of mine in Australia who pines for Japan told me he recently shelled out a whopping $20 for a bowl of ramen over there. But by far, the real MVP of eating out in Japan is the humble family restaurant. You can sit in a spacious surrounding with your friends, choose from Japanese food, Chinese food, Italian food, and so much more. The infinity stones of family restaurants are Caesarea, Gusto, Jonathan's, Denny's, and Royal Host. The 5 of these combine to create deliciousness and satisfaction. This is Caesarea, where we got a few dishes and unlimited refills from the drink bar for only $12 per person. And this is Gusto, the slightly fancier option. If you come to Japan, you have to try some of these bad boys. Lame Avengers metaphors aside, most foreigners who make Japan their home gravitate more to these restaurants than others, so they are simply not to be missed. And if eating out isn't your thing, there's always the option to eat at home. On your way home, stop by a convenience store like 7-Eleven, Family Mart or Lawson, and just grab a bento or a ready-to-eat meal. Whether a ricey one, a noodly one, or a spaghetti-y one, they'll only set you back a few bucks. But the real MVP of the bento scene is the humble supermarket, especially My Basket. For only $4, I got this bowl of curry, and if you drop by in the evening, you'll find it discounted by about 40%. Bentos are perfect to grab on the way home after a long day of being a salaryman or teacher, and I pretty much lived off these at my last job where I wasn't getting home until after 10 o'clock at night.
続いて、日本での長きにわたる生活を経た後でも、彼は未だに日本の自然の風景、伝統的な建築物、そして独自の文化に圧倒されています。そのすべてが、この美しき国を探索する旅へと常に彼を駆り立てているのです。彼はすでに非常に多くの場所を訪れましたが、日本には彼がまだ立ち寄り、探索する機会を得ていない場所が何百万と残っています。
Number 2, a million things to do. Japan has 47 prefectures, from the northernmost Hokkaido to the southernmost Okinawa. It's a goal of my own, as well as many other foreigners in Japan, to visit every single one of them. I've been fortunate enough to visit 19 of them in my 6 years here. Every single prefecture has its own unique charm and character. From the picturesque lakes of Shiga, the stunning castle towns of Hyogo, and the geothermal wonderland Oita. While it's harder getting to these smaller, more out-of-the-way prefectures, even the major centers themselves have unlimited things to do. It would be nigh impossible for me to explore every single neighborhood of Tokyo, but that's part of the fun. There's something surprising around every corner and a billion hidden gems to uncover. Recently, when walking around a park, I stumbled across a recreated feudal-era village. I had no idea that was there, and it's one of the many surprises I've documented on this channel. The sheer density of Tokyo is simply superb. To entertain myself, it's a simple matter of getting on a train to check out a pop-up store in Shinjuku, a beach down in Kanagawa, or a mountain in West Tokyo. There is no limit to what you can do here in Tokyo, and that limitlessness is part of the charm. Once upon a time, I lived in Kansai, the metropolitan region that encompasses Kyoto, Osaka, and Kobe. The same was applicable there. One of my greatest memories from my first year here is randomly heading to Kyoto on a Sunday Arvo, renting a yukata, or traditional garments, and taking photos in a bamboo forest. Later that afternoon, I went to a summer festival where I could watch the parade and try all of the local street food. Touristy as hell it may be, but the point still stands. When you find yourself in Japan, you'll be endlessly entertained by what's around you. In fact, you might find yourself overwhelmed. There's a million places I'm yet to visit, and Japan truly feels like an open world video game, where you have to explore to the edges of the map and check things off on the way.
かつて住んでいた場所と比較して、彼は日本人の個人の境界線に対する尊重を高く評価しています。中国では見知らぬ人々に執拗に追いかけられ、写真撮影を求められて疲れ果てていましたが、日本の公共交通機関では 絶対的な静寂が保たれています。ここはまさに内向的な人々にとっての聖域と言えるでしょう。
Number 3. Kind and considerate people. A lot of people might tell you that Japanese people are shy, cold, or have difficulty communicating in English. In many cases this is true, but what you're seeing is the face of one of, if not the kindest, most polite, and most hospitable cultures on earth. In my experience, I'm fortunate enough to have lived in both Australia and Japan, but I have also lived in China, giving me a third point of comparison. I'm not here to dunk on China or complain about my own country, or say that Japan has the best culture in the world, as you'll find people all over the planet who are kind and considerate. But considering the people I've met here in this society that I've lived in for the past 6 years, as well as the most important factor here, my status as an introvert, allow me to explain why living in this culture suits me. First of all, people stay out of your business in Japan. In Australia, I couldn't take the bus to school without someone wanting to start a conversation with me. And in China, I couldn't even walk down to the shops without someone wanting to start a conversation with me, ask me personal questions, or even take pictures with me. While it was flattering to be seen as the object of people's fascination, and my time in China was the closest I've ever felt to being a rock star, after the novelty wore off after 2 weeks, every day became an exhausting nightmare, without a moment's privacy after long days of studying throughout the rest of the semester I was there. Compare this to life in Japan, where I can take public transportation quietly, be left alone, and go for a walk without anyone wanting to talk to me. As an introvert, this is total paradise. Granted, I realize this isn't for everyone. A lot of long-term foreigners I know here lament this lack of easy social connection you might find in Australia, and certain people I've met have felt disappointed when they come to Japan and aren't given the rockstar treatment. Such people with this expectation also come here because they think they'll be popular women and they can't get a girlfriend back home. But we're not here to talk about them. Anyway, being left alone is just a godsend to me. Especially after a long day of being an English communication teacher, I just want my me time.
日の出ずる国の人々の安全性と親切心も彼を圧倒しました。紛失した財布が現金もそのままに手元に戻ってきたこと。あるいは見知らぬ老婦人がチラシを届けるためにわざわざ5階分の階段を駆け下りてきてくれたこと。これらの出来事は彼を深く感動させました。信じがたいほどに信頼に満ちた社会です。
Other ways you see consideration here is the speedy return of lost items. In my first couple of months in Japan, I was walking around the beautiful Hikone Castle in Shiga Prefecture with a new friend. At these tourist sites with your ticket, you'll often be given a lovely brochure, but not wanting to read it, I hastily stuffed it into the back pocket of my pants. While my dumbass was touring the top floor of the castle, it fell out without me noticing. Back outside, I felt a tap on my shoulder and an old lady had run down 5 flights of stairs just to give it back to me. 5 flights of stairs just to return a brochure. Incredible stuff. In a more extreme case, in my neighborhood, my wallet had fallen out of my pocket without me noticing. An hour later, when I realized it was missing, in a panic I ran to the koban or police box to report it. I'll never forget the bewildered expression of the cop as I walked in, and he said, "It's you." Someone had already turned in my wallet and he recognized me from my ID. All my cards and cash was still inside. I don't know how many other places in the world you'd be able to get your wallet back so quickly with $200 still inside it. And finally, I'll never forget when I participated in a full marathon race and the insane number of people who showed up to yell encouragement and support at runners. Not only did they cheer, but they offered snacks, drinks and cooling spray to participating runners. I remember supporters noticing my family name on my running number and yelling out personalized cheers at me. It's this combination of being left alone, never losing my stuff, and general kindness that suits me.
さらに、この国の生活は究極の利便性によって支えられています。開けやすさを追求した知的な製品パッケージから絶対的な安心感を誇るデリバリーアプリに至るまで、細部に至るまで配慮が行き届いています。
And finally, number 5. Insane levels of convenience. We all know that Japan is the most convenient country in the world, with its 24-hour corner shops and its punctual public transportation network. But there are ways in which Japan's convenience culture continues to surprise me. So let me give you some examples. First of all, online shopping and delivery delivery. Most items are sent from online retailers with express shipping as the default option. So after ordering something, it will generally arrive on the next day or even the same day. Because Japan is so safe, I can have the delivery man leave it on my doorstep and not have to worry about it disappearing. For an item that requires a signature, I simply scan the QR code on the redelivery slip, and with a few taps on my phone, I can schedule it to arrive when I'm home. When I lived in Australia, if you missed a delivery, you'd have to drive down to the post office to get it yourself. And if I ordered something in China, there was more than one occasion where the item just never showed up at all. While goods here are often overpackaged, and that is a debate for another day, every single product you buy here is designed for easy opening. This is my favorite snack, arufoto, a kind of chocolate cookie. Look how easy it is to open. You simply just tear it here, pull it out, and see this? It even says open. Just like that. Slide it out. And there are my chocolate cookies. No mess and presented nicely on this tray. And how do you think you open a packet of chips? Like this? No, that's just gonna explode in your face and make a mess. The Japanese way is like this. Find the place where you tear it, hold it sideways, and open it like that. No mess at all and easy to reach in. And let's keep the convenient food train rolling. Food delivery apps boomed during the pandemic, and they are yet another miracle from the gods of convenience. With just the press of a few buttons on my iPhone, I can have McDonald's delivered in 10 minutes. The quality and safety of food delivery is very high, as I never have to worry about getting the wrong order, nor do I have to worry about food tampering. I've not been back to Australia since before the pandemic and since before food delivery apps were a thing, so please let me know the state of food delivery in your country. And finally, the god of all stores, Daiso, Japan's dollar store or 100-yen shop. While there's an assortment of cheap items here, a lot of them are designed to solve problems you didn't even know you had. Look at these hooks, which come in suction, magnet, sticky, and nail varieties. And look at this, 1 million types of glue for every imaginable situation. And look at these, shoe keepers. They keep your shoes in shape when you're not wearing them. I never would have thought that was a problem in my life. Japan truly is the king of convenience, and perhaps this over-reliance on convenience has made me soft and lazy. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
それ以上に、彼は自身の趣味である任天堂のゲームを周囲の目を気にすることなく楽しむことができています。母国で経験したような偏見や冷やかしは、ここにはありません。日本は、ありのままの自分でいられる真の自由を与えてくれるのです。火の打ちどころがない、素晴らしい環境です。
This is probably the most personal topic of the 5 points in this video, and I realize this might not suit everyone. But I think all you guys can see how it's still a positive aspect of this culture. The way people are leads me nicely into my next point, which is that you can find your community. In a city as densely populated as Tokyo, you are certain to find your people, those with similar interests and values. Let's call them your community. If not in one of the 2 major metropolitan regions of Japan, you'll certainly find them online. Let me share my example. I am an adult fan of Nintendo. For a long time, I was ashamed of that. Growing up in a society that values sport and violent video games, I was teased by my classmates for enjoying so-called kiddie games. Here in Japan, any obsession you have is never treated with disrespect. Only interest by those who share it, or disinterest by those that don't. This disinterest ties into what I was saying about being left alone. Nobody is going to make fun of you for whatever niche hobby you have. Otaku culture is well known here, with meccas like Akihabara in Tokyo or Denden Town in Osaka, and those places focus on game, anime, and idol obsessions. When I was in Akihabara recently, I could pose with a giant statue of Link from The Legend of Zelda. At the time, it was fun exchanging pleasantries with other Zelda fans doing the same thing. Where I grew up, such a weeby thing would not be on display in public, nor would I feel comfortable enough to pose with it in front of the masses. At my first English teaching job back in Kobe, I sheepishly shared my love of Nintendo with some adult students around my age. To my surprise, we all had it in common. We ended up getting a few students and teachers from 2 different schools together, and we organized the Super Smash Bros. Event in a game cafe in Kobe on Saturday nights. When most of us moved to Tokyo, we continued the tradition here. One of the guys even invited me to be his guest at a Legend of Zelda orchestra concert. You have no idea how liberating it was to share my niche interest with other people, find more people that have it in common, and randomly chat with like-minded people who made the pilgrimage to a game display in public. Now I'm sharing my my love of Nintendo games on my other channel, and I've networked with other foreign Nintendo fans here in Japan. And this is just my example of finding my people. As another, my partner became interested in drag culture. He networked with some other people online and started attending drag events, and now he regularly performs in Nichome, Tokyo's gayborhood. He's a big part of the queer community, as are a lot of my friends here. Are these things that we could do in Australia? Probably. But I think it's the sheer number of people who live in this country, the greater acceptability of niche hobbies, as well as the eclectic mix of locals and foreign aspects who make Japan their home. I also wanted to include this point as a lot of foreigners who live in Japan complain about not being able to make friends with locals. While a lot of this is because of the language and culture barriers, I have proven that it's certainly not impossible. You can find your people, they are here. My Japanese isn't the best, so you'll have to find people who have an interest in foreign cultures and who have some English communication ability. But using your hobbies and interests as a jumping off point for a potential friendship is the best thing that you can do. With a bit of effort, you will get there and you will be friends for life.
これらの対照的な体験は、一つの明らかな真実を証明しています。巨大都市の華やかさは、決して社会の品格や秩序の代わりにはならないということです。皆様は、このあまりにも対照的な格差についてどうお考えでしょうか？もしあなたなら、チャンスを求めて混沌に立ち向かいますか？それとも、静寂と利便性に包まれた社会に身を委ねますか？ぜひ、皆様の見解をコメント欄でお聞かせください。この文化分析に興味を持たれた方は、高評価シェア、そしてチャンネル登録をお願いいたします。次回の刺激的な考察もお見逃しなく。それでは、またお会いしましょう。